In today's modern era of shareholders and stock exchanges, companies can be owned by thousands of people. Take the most valuable brand name in the world, for example, Apple. Forbes says it's worth $416.6 billion, but it's currently owned by 2,000 institutions. Meanwhile, an investor like Carlos Slim is worth $67 billion, and he only owns 31% of the company Telecom. That $67 billion could buy you 90 trips to the moon with enough money left over to buy Instagram. If you think that's a lot of money, imagine having $76 billion like the current richest man in the world, Bill Gates. He is well known for owning Microsoft, but he actually only owns 4.5% of the company. So if $76 billion is the worth of the richest person alive, would he be the richest person ever? Nope. In fact, he probably wouldn't even be in the top 10. So here's a list of some of the richest historical figures that probably made more money in a few weeks than you will in your entire life. Welcome to Jacksai. You can thank this guy for the lovely and affordable cars that you drive every single day. Henry Ford did not invent the automobile, but he was the first person to make cars for reduced prices for average consumers. This led his Ford Motor Company to increase sales from 18,000 cars in 1909 to 1 million cars in 1920. At his time of death in 1947, he had an estimated net worth of $188 billion. But this pales in comparison to the man who would go on to become the richest independent person in history. A man by the name of John D Rockefeller opened a little company called Standard Oil in 1863, and within the next 20 years he ended up controlling nearly all of the oil in the United States. See, the funny thing is that when you control 90% of the oil production during the Industrial Revolution, you will probably make a decent amount of money. Due to Rockefeller's monopoly of oil during the Industrial Revolution, he ended up having a net worth of what would be $665 billion today. That's enough money to buy the Ford Motor Company and have enough money left over to buy the largest company by revenue in the world, Walmart. So why isn't the company Standard Oil still around today? Well, it is, but you probably know it by one of its other names, Exxon or Esso. Even though Mr. Rockefeller is probably the richest person in history, there was a family that might actually be richer. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the Rothschild family. This family was a banking dynasty through the 18th and 19th century, opening banks in pretty much every major city in Europe. By the mid-1800s, they were said to have amassed a fortune of somewhere between $300 billion and $1 trillion. They did this by lending money to many governments during the Napoleon War. Now, some other rich historical figures that I'd like to mention are: one was King Mansa Musa of the Malian Empire. He was said to have controlled half of the world's gold and salt around the year 1320. It is estimated that his fortunes could be anywhere between $300 billion and $800 billion. But lack of documentation and evidence led him to not be recognized as one of the wealthiest people in history. The next on the list is the Libyan dictator Muammar Gaddafi. He was said to have stashed away $200 billion in investments and bank accounts over 42 years. But because he didn't control or earn most of his money, he's not included on the list either. Lastly, Warren Buffett gets an honorable mention for being worth $60 billion from his investments from Berkshire Hathaway. He also deserves some recognition for being arguably the biggest philanthropist in history, because he's actually donated $30 billion in Berkshire Hathaway shares to charity. Oh, and by the way, one last thing that makes Warren Buffett awesome is that he still lives in the same house that he bought in 1958 for $31,500. That's pretty cool. Anyways, thank you for watching Jacksai. Leave some comments if you want and let me know what you thought of this video. And don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button down below.